Hey, this Squarecast podcast episode is brought to you by Used to Go to Church. You know, life can often be brutal, unjust, and fraught with emotional trauma. As a first responder chaplain for nearly 25 years, author Nick Felicities has experienced countless scenes of unbearable grief and pain. When asking the brokenhearted, do you have a faith to help you through? The response in some form is almost always, well, we used to go to church. Blending firsthand accounts of tragedy with opportunity for raw self-examination and reflection, in his book, Used to Go to Church, Felicities delves into the realm of spirituality and belief amid loss and despair. For the spiritual but not religious who want to pursue God outside the walls of organized religion, Used to Go to Church is an invitation to rethink faith and open up to a life centered on grace, mercy, and love. Now, whether you are religious, non-religious, Christian, or agnostic, churchgoer, or church leaver, the person who is starting with page 1 of Used to Go to Church will not be the same person who finishes the last sentence. Available on Amazon in all formats. Visit Nick's blog at usedtogotochurch.com.
Hey heathens, you're listening to the Deadly Faith Podcast, where religion and crime collide. I'm Lola.
And I'm Laci.
And this shit is ghastly.
The mind that was in Jesus, that mind is in me.
Without me, life has no meaning.
Why would God tell you what I'm thinking and tell you what I've said to my wife or my husband when you're not around? It's because I'm the pastor of the church and I need to know.
This is the only place where you can see truth.
Ghastly.
Ghastly?
Ghastly.
One of those things. We don't know how to say it right, but that's what this is.
That's just ghastly. This is yeah. I don't even know have words for today's episode.
Yeah, you know about it. I hate that.
I do know about it, but it's been a really long time, so I don't remember the ins and outs.
Did you just watch the episode, or did you go into detail with it?
I think I watched the episode. I didn't go into detail. No.
Oh, okay. Well, the episode honestly doesn't encase all of the.
Well, shit,
story.
I'm in for a surprise then. I just know the topics, which. Basically, everybody will know the topics once we hit the trigger warnings, so.
Yes. Trigger warnings before we begin. Incest, sexual abuse, physical abuse, scary blood ritual weird things, murder, and infant/child abuse.
Ooh. I didn't know about all of those.
If you need to opt out, that's fine.
Yeah, incest. Just we're going to say that one again, because.
Incest is probably, I had to list it first because it's like the ingredients, you know? It's like that's that's the major overtone for this whole thing.
People are gross.
Does it not just inherently feel wrong?
I don't know how it doesn't. I literally don't know how that doesn't feel absolutely disgusting to everybody involved.
Unless your family operated like that your whole life, like a generation after generation kind of thing, and it's just normalized. You'd think, which spoiler alert, that never happened beforehand in this guy's life. So,
but there is that family that lives up in, I think they live in the Appalachian Mountains somewhere.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And they're like a whole bunch of incest family. And that is definitely one of those situations where it was just bred from generation to generation. And this was highly normalized. The outside world was something they did not come into contact with. Societal norms, expectations, standards, none of that was part of their lives. But when that is a part of your life, there's something really fucked up in there if that's your go-to.
Yeah.
And you're attracted.
Don't say attracted. It's just everything about it is bad. Everything about it is bad.
All the way around.
Ghastly.
Heads
up, I'm also taking some quotes and storytelling from Charles, which is one of the kids, it's one of the kids from the Sexton family. So one of Eddie's children.
Okay.
So from the interview on Evil Lives Here, which you can find on YouTube if you don't subscribe to other things. It's free on YouTube. So.
Okay, cool.
We can link that. Are you ready for story time?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Story time.
Let's do this.
Okay. Eddie Lee Sexton. You will want, if you're going to Google this guy, you got to put in Eddie Lee Sexton, because otherwise you're going to get this guy that was in Alabama. It's not relevant. Whatever.
Yeah.
Eddie Lee Sexton was born on May 12th, 1942 and grew up in Logan, West Virginia. I thought you'd enjoy that.
I did. I highly enjoyed that.
Thank you. His dad was a part-time Baptist preacher. I don't have much more info on his dad than that because his dad died when he turned 10.
Oh, shit.
So I don't have much information on that. His mom, I have absolutely nothing on her except for she had 10 kids. Eddie was the youngest of the 10. And shortly after his dad had died when he was 10, his mom had, I think it was like a severe stroke that caused her to be really like impaired, disabled in a lot of different ways.
Oh my gosh.
So the kids had to start working for the family.
That's hard. And if it's there's a spectrum of the severity of strokes. And if you have a decently sized stroke, it can literally leave parts of your body paralyzed. And when you have a stroke, it literally kills portions of your brain.
For sure.
And it doesn't recuperate. So like regenerate or something.
Yeah, my cousin had a stroke when she was like 30, I think. And she, thankfully, like she can speak and everything. And she didn't really lose any type of function long term. She did in the moment when it happened. But she's one of the lucky ones. But she has to constantly take medications, even though she's not had any other like stroke symptoms or whatever. Like the rest of your life, you have to be treated as a stroke victim. It's insane.
That's my sister. My sister had one on New Year's Day.
Oh my God.
Of 2023. Yeah.
Stop.
And hers wasn't super bad. It took her a little bit to recover.
How old is she?
So she is early 40s.
My God, they keep happening earlier and earlier. See, strokes don't know age or gender or anything. They don't care. Know the signs of a stroke.
And she's a nurse. Like, okay, if she listens to this, I love her. But like nurses make the worst patients, and she will admit to that. She's like, slurring, faces like drooping, and her partner was like, "We're going to the hospital," and she's like, "I'm fine."
Oh my God.
I know.
Everything's fine. I can't smile with half of my face, but everything's fine.
But that's what happens when you are parentified and you're the one that takes care of everybody growing up.
True.
You end up putting yourself last, and that's what she's
Very
done.
True.
But anyways, so mom's had a stroke and she's now out of commission. The kids are working.
Yeah, she can't work. She can't even really take care of the kids very well. So from what I gather, the kids took care of themselves, and the older ones would work, but all of them eventually would end up working except for Eddie.
Nuh-uh.
He never had to. Never ever.
Because he was the baby, right?
Yeah, he was the baby. So, granted, he was the youngest, and you don't want your littlest kid.
But he's also like 12. Like if this happened to her a couple years after he died, he's 12. Like he could have done something.
He could. Yeah, he definitely could have.
Yeah.
Pick up sticks in somebody's yard for cash.
Right,
I don't know.
Right. Mow a lawn. You're 12.
Exactly. So, whatever. The family eventually moved to Ohio. So they were in West Virginia, moved to Ohio. And Eddie was like, his childhood was normal. He was charming and polite. He was athletic. Everything seemed good on the surface. This is all alleged, but his brothers, David and Otis, later testified that they had a very poverty-stricken childhood, and they alleged a lot of sexual abuse from each other and other figures in the family. So that was never confirmed, to my knowledge, but it would kind of make sense. It would kind of track with how Eddie's life goes from here. So,
yeah,
outside looking at it, it's pretty normal, but other things behind the scenes probably weren't so great. Well, Eddie joined the Army when he graduated high school, but didn't even make it through basic training. It was too hard. Yeah. Okay.
Oh. Poor thing.
So in 1965, he was 23. He was arrested and convicted of armed robbery.
Okay.
He robbed banks. I think it was 2. Yeah.
He really was lazy. He was not going to get a job.
Say more, honestly. Well,
I'll just rob the banks. That's easier.
No biggie. Yeah. He served a small prison sentence, like 3 to 5, whatever.
Okay.
Once he was released, he met Estella May. What a cute name is that?
I was just about to say, I love this name.
Estella May. Like,
Estella May.
It's beautiful. I love that name.
That's a timeless name, and I'm kind of jealous.
I agree.
Can you name your kid that? Because I'm not having any more kids. So, like, can I vicariously?
I don't know if I should after this case. I don't know.
Shit. Never mind. Yeah, I know, right? I had to remember what we're talking about. Just kidding. Scratch that.
If your name is Estella May, I know that you don't have the same reputation as this Estella May, though.
At least we're going to hope you don't.
Yeah. So he met Estella May and they got married and they had 12 kids together. Good Lord.
Okay. We are just repeating the large family dynamic. All right.
So many kids.
How does your vagina do that? I just have to ask.
Good question.
I've had 3 and like, yes, it goes back to normal afterwards, but like it's never the same.
But at what cost? Your uterus, like, okay, I don't know if this is real, but my biological mother would say something like, my uterus is falling out, or like, my uterus feels like it's falling.
Yes, it can happen. And the only reason that I know that is because I had tailbone pain after I had my kids and I had to go get physical therapy on my tailbone. Yeah, they literally have to go up in you. I swear, I'm just telling everything here on the internet.
This is an explicit podcast.
They have to, like, that's the only way to adjust and stretch out that bone. It's very awkward. Me and that girl got real tight after having a couple kids. But on the picture in front of me, there's literally a uterus coming out, like a diagram. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? She goes, oh, that woman's uterus is coming out. And I was like,
great.
What? Yeah, it can happen.
That is possible. Great.
Do your Kegels, ladies. Do your Kegels.
So yeah, 12 kids.
12 kids.
I only got some of the names. These are in order of age. Eddie Lee Jr. Estella had a child outside of their marriage. Don't know when that was, but not like cheating, but like whatever, like previous child kind of thing.
Oh.
Like, I don't know if she's previously married or if it just like, I don't know. But his name is Patrick. So he's not Eddie's son, but he is Estella's.
But hold on, I'm confused. Eddie Jr. was born before this kid?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, God.
That's what I was like, wait.
Unless someone, hold on. Unless that was documented, like, wrong. And maybe, like, they're maybe around the same age. Maybe Patrick's a touch older. I don't know.
Yeah.
A touch.
A tidge.
Interesting. I don't know.
I'm like, wait.
That raises questions. That detail did not dawn on me.
I was trying to like connect the dots in my head.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
That does not work out.
Well, let's say Patrick, Eddie Lee Jr.
There you go.
Stella, William, Sherry, Michelle, Charles, James, Matthew, Christopher, Lana, and Kimberly.
Very normal names. Just
pretty normal. Yeah.
Plain Jane family is what it sounds like.
Yeah. So, you know, after he got married and he was becoming a father rather quickly, with lots of them, they were popping him out. He had to start making some more dough.
Yeah. It kind of takes that to raise a family.
You know, to keep him alive, as the law requires. So Eddie started scamming people.
Oh, that's the next logical step from robbing banks.
Rob a bank, scam people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He would like get a job somewhere and he would file phony workers' comp suits.
Okay. Can we just talk about how much work it takes to actually scam and how much research and how many things you have to do?
Remember, this is the 60s, though.
Oh, that is true.
60s, 70s. You could get away with it a little bit easier. It was less paperwork. It was less red tape for a lot of those
I guess
kind of scams.
Okay. I'm thinking about nowadays. Yeah, you're right.
I know. Now it's very hard to do that. He would also roll himself around in a wheelchair for like 20-something years. I mean, he would stand up out of it when he was hauling his kids and shit. But like if they went out in public, he'd be like, get my wheelchair.
No.
I shit you not. And he would claim disability for this. For years. Like I said, around 20 years.
He's a lazy man. Like
he would scam insurance, government, whatever. As long as he could get paid, he was going to do it. On top of that, if you think the wheelchair thing was bad, there were a lot of house fires for this family.
Oh my God.
Like a lot. In every house that they lived in.
Okay. I mean, red flag.
Say more. I don't know how they didn't catch on to that.
I was
Just
about
the
to say.
insurance scams alone. But whatever.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they thought too, with that many kids in the house.
How many fires have the Duggars had? They ain't had one.
Well, they also controlled their children, like,
Well,
militantly. Anyway.
kind of. But yeah, I see what you mean. Oh.
So yeah, his kids and wife, they knew that it was all fake, you know, but
Yeah.
what are they going to do? So
Yeah.
whatever. The kids start getting in trouble with neighbors, acting out at school, you know, like how it happens when you have parents that maybe are not super invested in you and are invested in scamming and doing that kind of shit.
Right.
So people, like, in general thought something wasn't quite right with this family.
Makes sense.
Even though everyone believed his disabilities and stuff, they were just like, something's happening at that house. Something's weird.
The vibes were off.
Yeah, the vibes were off for sure. But, you know, scamming wasn't his only career. He also was an ordained minister.
No, the fuck he was not. I forgot that.
Yes.
I forgot.
Yes. And he would marry so many couples. So many.
Oh my gosh.
It was a lot.
Can you imagine, like, after all of this came out and then, like, you're one of those couples? I was like,
I thought about them immediately.
he married us. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, God. Did he curse our marriage?
I know, right?
For any of the ones that got divorced, I bet it was like, oh, okay, that's why it didn't
That
work
makes sense.
out.
Yep.
That tracks. It wasn't us, honey.
We were cursed.
So he was like super well known in his community, and he would marry people right outside their home. And he would have Estella May to like make food for the family and have the reception at their house. It was like a whole thing. He would do the ceremony.
In all honesty, that's super cute.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
You know, on the surface.
what a good package. You pay him to marry you, and then Estella May gets together this awesome food and makes a cake. And
Right. If you just stop there, it's a beautiful story.
we can't stop here. We can't. I know. But he maintained that presence of like a really polite, religious man in the community. People were like, okay, we can vibe with it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird, but we can vibe with you.
And people who are like highly religious, like, no offense, but you do have kind of like a weird vibe about you and your home.
Are you talking about the Jehovah's Witness that come to your front door and they're like,
I'm sorry. Those like freak me out. We have too many serial killers. We have too many serial killers in the U.S. for you to become knocking on my door if I don't know you.
and
okay?
you're all white, disgruntled men.
Yeah, go away. But if you're highly religious, and I think from an outsider looking in, they could be like, oh, he's kind of highly religious. That can kind of...
He's just a trusted person because of his like religious standing. And he's probably really personable. I mean, like I said before, growing up, he was charming. He was polite. I highly doubt things are different now with him. You know, he was just...
Well, you said people noticed like something was off in the family.
Something was off because his kids are acting out and things are just like not really. Maybe there was like a weird interaction between him and Estella May at the supermarket one day, and they were like,
yeah. I just wonder if it was like some people looking at it like, oh, he's really highly religious and he just takes it a little too far, and that's probably what it is. And they write it off with that in their own heads.
True, very possible. Yeah,
just a guess.
Yeah. When the kids got a little older, like 10 or so, Charles, which is one of the kids, he talks about one of his brothers and him were in their bedroom one night going to bed, and they saw a scary beast outside of their window. And it was like dressed in black and like weird. Like it looked scary to them. It was just scary. So they both freaked out and like called for their mom, and she was like, what's happening? And came in there and tried to comfort them. And then Eddie comes in the room and they're like, Dad, this is what we saw outside the window. And like it had tapped on the window at them and everything. It was like super freaky. And he told them what they saw was the devil and the devil wanted them and was coming after them.
Oh,
so
my
he
God.
said, if you do everything I tell you to do and you like say the things that I tell you to say, you will be safe. You'll be fine. So don't worry about it. Okay. You just listen to Dad.
Oh,
so
my God.
that like gave them comfort in the moment, and they loved their dad. So they were like, yeah, okay, we'll just believe Dad.
That is some high class manipulation right there.
Especially when you know that he was the figure that dressed up and tapped on their window.
Uh-huh. Little fucker.
Like, how weird.
How? I know.
What a freaky tactic. Like, I don't know.
You're just sitting there like, oh, yeah, this is what I'm going to do.
And
you just come up with that idea?
Vibe.
Yeah. Okay.
This sounds like a good way to earn my kids' trust. Convince them a devil is outside their window coming to get them, and I will save them from all things.
Yeah.
So as you can tell, he's kind of driving the religious stuff kind of hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting worse. As they age, it's getting worse. So he starts to do like occult practices.
Oh my God.
Is not in the Christian vein necessarily.
No. He's veering very hard left.
It's going past pagan though.
Yeah.
Where it's going to a different, darker place. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he would hold like religious sermons and ceremonies with his family alone. So like they didn't go to church anymore. So he was an ordained minister just like on his own. He didn't preach anywhere. He just married people and like, taught people on the side kind of thing.
Gotcha.
He wasn't established somewhere.
Okay. And the family wasn't a part of a congregation, like just as a
They
member?
may have been like when the kids were younger, but at this point in time,
nothing.
no,
Okay.
Not at all. So like the church services that they have are in their house are like just with them, just with their family members kind of thing.
Okay.
They didn't go to church. They were church kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Charles, the son I was speaking of before, remembers when his dad's face began to just like change to that darker place. Not sure what was happening like within Eddie's mind, marriage, whatever. Because you got to know something has shifted to make him so weird.
Right. And we just don't know what it was that did that.
No, yeah. Yeah. Unsure of that. So he says he remembers them like walking through some garden and there was a statue of Jesus with like praying hands. And he said that his dad just like chopped off the hands. Like he brought like an axe out there and cut off the hands and said like, God can't help any of you. I am God. I am the way. You need to pray to me. If you're going to be afraid of anyone, be afraid of me. My word is law. Like I am God now.
Holy shit.
Hard 180.
He's off. He's off the planet. He's off the road. He's out into another universe. Wow.
Say more. I wish we had more information on the change here.
Yeah, like what happened? I have questions.
But obviously his kids aren't going to know because like they didn't talk to him like that.
Right.
And spoiler alert, both Estella and him are dead. They,
Okay. So we can't ask them questions.
No, we can't. It's all just kind of weird. Oh, I forgot there's a trigger warning for animal abuse. Did I say that before?
No, you did not.
Dang it.
But that's okay.
Well,
that's
at this point, before I share it, let me just go ahead and say, trigger warning, animal abuse we're about to get into.
Oh, shit.
So if you need to go away now, that's fine. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
So Charles goes on to say, like, he's angry with God. He's saying that he is God, whatever. So he remembers one evening the family was gathered around the kitchen table and there's like a bunch of candles everywhere and there's a pentagram in the like drawn in the middle of their dining room table.
Oh no.
And there's like a cloth covering something on the table.
Oh my God.
And they didn't know what was under there. And his dad was like, okay, we all have to join hands now. And you're going to listen to what I have to say and do what I tell you to do. So he lifts the thing off of the cover off of the thing. The thing is their beloved house cat.
No.
Unfortunately.
And it's dead.
It is dead. It is dead. She was very stiff from what he had said.
Oh my God.
His father killed the cat. And then, so in front of everyone, he picks up the cat. He slits its throat. And he has like this chalice.
No.
Wherever you think it's going there. So he holds the chalice up to the slit throat and drains as much blood out as he can. And then he drinks from it and orders each of them to pass it around and drink from it.
No.
Ghastly.
I can't. Not only is it gross, but like that
there are so many dangers to drinking blood.
Animal. Yeah. Especially an animal. They lick their own shit. Okay. Why are you drinking their blood?
Horrible. And just think of the kids, their house cat that like they had probably pet earlier that day or like slept with, you know, it's like.
And now they're drinking its blood.
How confusing and scary is that?
What year are we in right now?
We're in the mid-70s.
Okay. So this is still even like just on the cusp of satanic panic. So like satanic panic hasn't really taken off yet. So
yeah,
he was ahead of his time and not in a good way.
Where'd you get a fucking chalice?
Anyway, I know, right?
I'm thinking about that fucking chalice. Because like, what an extra goth thing to do.
I know,
he's just like, he's in his emo phase, but like in the worst way possible.
In the worst
most
way.
Unhealthy.
Ugh.
Well, Charles said that after that happened, they just like, his dad cleaned up everything and said, don't speak of this to anybody outside his house ever again. And they never talked about it. And that was it. Like they acted like nothing had happened, including Estella May.
The mom.
Because, I was going to say, if you're wondering about her and like, why she didn't step in and be like, hey, don't do this in front of our kids. Or like, what is this? The cat, what is happening? She just like, didn't say anything, didn't do anything.
Yeah. Wow.
Whatever.
Do we know if they were physically beaten? Like physically abused?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we know if she was?
It's not really confirmed.
Okay. It's not much of a leap.
I'm assuming. I'll get into it a little bit later on.
Okay.
Talk about something else. I will say that Charles says in the interview he believes that his mother was just a victim like the rest of them. So do with that what you will.
I can see that.
He said that he was never mad at her kind of thing, but he didn't understand a lot of like her actions, but he didn't blame her necessarily.
I can see in that situation, especially with it being in the 70s, for a woman with that many children.
Yeah.
What are your options?
So true.
How do you get away and stay safe, you and all of your kids? I don't know what kind of options were available.
Not only that, I mean, she's probably scared out of her brains too with him like kind of going off the rails with religion and like doing these weird practices. You don't know what happened in their bedroom, you know?
Yeah.
Like it could have gotten so much worse behind closed doors than any of us know. So, yeah. Super gross. Moving on.
It's not going to get better.
Charles said that his father didn't allow any of his daughters to talk to anybody, especially like men, boys, whatever. So he told his sons, he was like, you have to keep an eye on the girls anywhere they're at. And if you see them talking to anybody, you report it back to me. And that's that. And like the boys thought they were doing a good thing. They thought they were protecting their sisters and obeying their father. Like they thought this was normal and safe kind of thing. So Charles actually said that one of his sisters, he reported, she was talking to a teacher or something, I think about a grade. I don't know, or like a book. And it was super harmless, but he reported it to his dad. And he said that day she got beaten so bad and he could hear screaming from like the outside of the room. And he said, I just like couldn't walk away because I felt so guilty and I knew what I had done was wrong then. And I don't think he reported any of his sisters after that, you know?
Yeah.
But like they didn't realize what was going to happen to their sisters and that their sisters would be blamed for that kind of interaction.
Oh my gosh. Just for talking to another.
Right?
guy.
And it's like, don't you have to interact with some people? You know, like.
Especially when you're in school.
Exactly.
Like, you don't really have an option.
At the time, too, a lot of educators are men.
Uh-huh. It's a lose-lose situation.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, you're fucked either way.
This was not the only type of abuse that the girls endured, unfortunately. I'm about to get into some sexual assault and rape, so if you need to back out now, bye, love you.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Drink some water.
Charles said that he and his brother Willie had actually caught his sister Pixie being raped by their father.
Oh my God.
They caught it when she was like, I think she was 14 when it started.
Oh my gosh.
And then he said that like Pixie was his favorite of the girls and he would have sex with her so much.
Ew.
Well, Pixie actually was like in love with him.
Yeah.
This is not her fault.
I can
Super
see
common because she's going through puberty.
I was going to say, and you're so vulnerable at the age of 14. So fucking vulnerable.
Exactly.
And then you add religious shit on top of it. She didn't
and
have
a trusted
chance.
adult figure.
Yeah.
That she probably admired, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Pixie's fault that any of this happened to her or even falling in love with someone that she wasn't supposed to fall in love with. It was just part of this whole like grooming process. And even if she says or like anyone says it was consensual, it was rape every time.
Yeah, it can't be consensual, especially when there is that large of a imbalance of power and they're related. Like it's her father. Period. Like you can't, no.
See, my dad will only give me a side hug. Like that's how far away from like, this feels so far removed from me. It's very odd.
I can't.
Super gross. But this goes on for years. So I believe that Pixie is around 16.
Okay.
16, I think. When Charles said that one evening, all the family was like in the living room. They did this thing where they would like, his mom would turn on a record and they would all dance together. And he said it just felt like nothing bad was happening and dad couldn't hurt them. And it was just like a good time. They would all dance together and sing. Yeah. And so they were all doing that. And Pixie enters the room in a like white dress with a veil.
What?
And like, she's not saying anything. She's like smiling. She's like really happy. And so she like walks to a corner of the room or something. And then behind her comes Eddie. And he is like also wearing like something nice. And he has a Bible. And everyone just kind of stops. Like, what is happening? And Estella May is like frozen.
Right.
And he marries his daughter to himself right there in front of all of them.
What? I have no words.
They didn't either. They were all like shocked. But they said that Pixie was so happy and he was so happy. And it was just so weird. And it was so fucked up.
That's
so fucked up.
I mean, 12 layers of fucked up.
So confusing for all of them because it's like, is she our mom or sister or what is this? Like, what does this mean?
No.
And Estella May is just like in the corner, shocked, not saying a word. She doesn't say a word the entire time or after. She just like leaves.
My brain would have been on
leaves
overload.
the room.
Like I would not know how to compute what I was seeing.
Not at all. Not at all. So Eddie Lee is actually said to have married 3 of his daughters.
Ew. It keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So
what is wrong with this man?
So 11th grade, Pixie has a child.
Oh, no.
11th grade, you'd probably be around 16, 17.
Yeah.
12th grade, she has another child.
Oh, my God.
So she's 17, 18. And then she's pregnant again soon after graduating high school.
Oh, my gosh. So that's 3 babies.
3 babies.
Wow.
And everyone noticed a remarkable resemblance between not only Pixie, but also Eddie Lee.
Ew. What did they tell people?
Well, the school was like, what's happening here? So, things were kind of kicking up. You know, people were asking questions and like, they would make like stupid made up stories like, oh, some guy that she met at this camp or so, I don't know, a date gone wrong. Like it would just be a stupid excuse that you can't really track back because it's in the 80s at this point.
Right.
80s, 90s, whatever. So when she's pregnant with the third, though, things were different. The questions were pressing further.
Yeah.
So in January of 1992, Michelle, one of the other daughters that was older, she's 18. She went to the high school's administrative office and she spilled the beans. Like
fuck, Michelle.
She got the principal and she was like, yo, I've been raped. I've been married off to my father. I got this happening at home. I've been beat. Like all this shit's happening to me. What are you going to do about it?
Can you imagine being that principal?
I think about that too. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, if you had suspicions beforehand, it's like the worst case scenario just rained down upon you.
Yeah.
You know? The worst. So,
oh my God.
Whatever you want to call it, CPS, DFS, whatever, stepped in to take her statements and do an investigation because Michelle was claiming that she was pregnant. And the father was her father.
So he got another one of them pregnant?
No, well, turns out she wasn't actually pregnant. She had suspicions that she was pregnant. She wasn't really.
Okay.
Though.
Okay.
But not much could be done because she was 18. So even though she's still in high school, she had turned 18 and technically made her a consenting adult.
Not with her father.
I know. That's what I said.
Still incest. God damn it, people.
Okay, so social services is not doing the most out here right now. But she, like, when they told her, like, we can't really do anything, she said, okay, wait. I have 2 other sisters that have children with my dad. And they're like 17, 16. Do something.
Okay.
So Michelle's not giving up, you know?
But
love
still,
that for you, girl.
It's fucked that they said they couldn't do anything.
I know. Say more. Ain't that just the way, idiots? So social services begins interviewing the kids, but most of them did not talk, which is not surprising.
Understandable.
Yeah.
They're scared.
If you don't know what an abused child, like what their behavior will be like when it comes to authoritative figures, they have been coached most likely by their parents to not speak to authorities or to give a rehearsed story about whatever's happening in the house or whatever's happening with them and their body kind of thing.
Yep. And if you think the abuse was bad prior to this, if they open their mouth, they know that the abuse is going to be 10 times worse than anything they ever experienced.
For sure. So the social workers actually began coining the phrase the Sexton stare, which was born from Eddie threatening the kids about speaking to anybody about what happened at home. So the kids who were, not speaking, they would just get this like 1,000-yard stare and not say anything.
Oh my gosh.
So,
red flag. You can say a lot without saying anything. For sure, yeah. Eventually, the kids who were minors were removed from the home at that time in the hopes that it would help them like kind of get more details, get more comfortable talking with law enforcement. Michelle, even though she was 18, she was, and like the whole thing was kind of like whatever. They moved her away. So social services like helped her move away for her own safety, because with her being so like ready to talk about everything, she told them like, he's going to want me dead. So like, if you want anything else out of me, like you're going to have to protect me pretty much. Yeah. Well, I'm glad they did that.
No, yeah. I mean, it's the least that could happen there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would want her dead for this. So
Absolutely.
Eddie realized that the pressures are coming in. You know, Pixie's got the third kids. That's already raising a bunch of suspicion. Michelle's spilling the beans. The kids are getting taken away. So he's like, I gotta fix this. He goes into fixer mode, you know?
Yep. He feels the walls closing in.
Not even a month later. So it's February of 1992. So Michelle reports this in January 1992. So in February,
Okay.
Eddie made the oldest daughter, Pixie, marry her boyfriend. That's right. She was allowed to have a boyfriend.
I thought they weren't allowed to have boyfriends.
Say more.
Okay, but she is?
Joel Good is his name. He was allowed to start coming around. Eddie liked him. I kind of think that Eddie, handpicked him for her in a lot of ways. So, he was very okay with them, hanging out, being together, going on dates. Everything was good. Because the brothers were like, what the fuck's happening? When they saw Joel coming to the house. And he was like, no, it's good. I'm good with your dad. It's fine. I get it, you know? So
weird.
I don't understand their dynamic, what that was, but
yeah,
whatever. So he marries Pixie to her boyfriend, Joel Good. So Eddie immediately puts Joel's name on all the birth certificates for her children. So he takes himself off and puts Joel's name on all of them.
Well, that makes sense. Why he would want her to have a boyfriend. It's their cover story now.
For sure.
Gotcha.
Joel and Pixie, they had wanted to get married anyway, but this just kind of rushed everything forward because of Michelle talking. They had to quickly do this. And this is kind of a side note about Joel. His family was not too big on they didn't really like Pixie's family. They didn't like the Sextons. They just got a weird feeling from them in general. They didn't like Joel hanging out with them.
Ditto.
And two, this was not confirmed, and I don't want anyone to feel some type of way about Joel, but it was said that he was possibly mentally impaired in some way.
Okay.
They would call it slow. I wouldn't call it that.
Yeah.
But everywhere that I read, it said he was slow. I don't agree with that.
No.
But he may have not taken certain social cues or
into consideration.
Yeah.
He was vulnerable. He was
easily influenced, I think.
Yeah.
Especially, Eddie Sexton had him under his control technically. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you said they took the younger kids out of the house. Had they already taken the younger kids out of the house at this point?
Yes.
Okay. But she was allowed to stay?
In February area, they took them out.
Okay. And so but Pixie's allowed to stay?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Pixie, I think, was 17 or 18. She had just turned 17 or 18.
Okay.
At
so
this point in
she's
time.
Getting on up there. So they took the younger ones to try to get them to talk. Okay.
Yeah. If they were under 16, they took them.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So when social services questioned, who's the father, they were like, oh, it's Joel. And the kids were never tested to confirm DNA.
Could they do that back then?
I believe so at that time, yeah. Yeah. It was the 90s.
Oh, well, yeah, we're in the 90s now.
They could do simple DNA testing.
Yeah, simple DNA. Yep. If we're in the 90s, yep, that would have been available.
Yeah.
Opportunity missed.
And he convinces Joel, these are your kids.
All three of them?
Mm-hmm.
When the fuck was he around for the other two?
Joel had been kind of on and off with Pixie.
Okay. So it didn't take much to convince him.
So there's a little more to their story, and I don't know every single detail, and I don't want to get it wrong, but I do know that they had met and they started getting close, and then they started dating and they broke up, and she had the first kid. And they dated again. And then they broke up and she had the second kid.
Okay. So it's not hard. It's not a hard stretch to be he's the dad. Okay.
But they didn't look anything like Joel is the thing. No. They looked just like Eddie and Pixie. So
he's okay.
Whatever. That's fine.
It was the 90s.
It was the 90s. So they kind of backtracked on the whole, oh, it was some random dude she was with. Oh, it was whatever. Mm-hmm. They just kind of backtracked and were like, oh, no, it was always yours. They're all yours all the time. forever. These are yours.
Ugh.
And Joel believed it, and he loved those kids.
Oh my God, that's so cute, but that's also so fucking sad that they took advantage of him like that.
And Charles said that, like, Joel was too good for, like, all of this. He was too good for this life and, like, for Pixie, like, all of it. He said he was a good dude, and he just got, like, wrapped up in this stupid story. And he really was madly in love with Pixie. That's why he always came back to her, you know, like, whatever she wanted, he was just, like, a willing participant.
God.
So
I just want to, like, go back in time and be like,
I know.
Shake him.
I know. Well, skipping back over to, you know, DFS, CPS, whatever, they're still on the hunt for information because they want to do something here. Mm-hmm. It's just that everyone's getting too old.
Yeah.
You know, they want to do something. So they find Eddie's brother, Otis, who apparently is not getting along with Eddie at this time because he says, Otis tells them, like, right off the bat, he's like, my 2 daughters babysat for Eddie's eldest kids once. And my daughters called me saying that Eddie had tied up the kids to a bed or in a closet and said, like, you can't untie them. Like, just watch them and make sure they don't move.
I came here to babysit, not play security guard.
For sure.
No.
Yeah. I don't know if Otis reported this because there's no documentation if it was reported at all.
He probably didn't. Many family members don't when it involves their own, unfortunately.
I feel like he probably called his brother and was like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'll untie him, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but Otis actually began, like, picketing and protesting right outside their home, demanding the arrest of both Estella and Eddie.
Shut up!
Because he had been suspicious for years that they had been abusing the kids.
Right.
Physically, sexually, everything. He was like, I feel like this is really happening. So he was like, gung-ho, take them away.
Picketing. I love that.
No joke. He was the real shit for sure. So the kids, you know, like I said, they were taken away and they were starting to talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that they had been away for a couple of weeks, they said that they got whoopings. Whoopings.
What kind of whoopings?
With a belt. They just said we got whooped with a belt until we were 16. And then 16 and older got a fist.
That's not a whooping. I don't even agree with the belt, but like...
I don't agree with a whooping a belt. Anytime you touch your kid and it's not in a selfless, unconditional, loving manner, you should go fuck yourself. I don't care.
Break that cycle. Break that cycle. Research has been done.
If you don't hit your spouse, you don't hit your kids.
This is the hill I will die on.
For sure.
I'll die with you.
Is.
Yeah, thank you.
Go down. So, oddly enough, the kids taken from their parents still got to have contact with both parents on a regular basis.
Why?
So, like, the parents still had control.
Why?
I don't know what I don't know if this was, like, legally they had to. I'm not sure.
That's the only thing I can think of. Like, it's the 90s, so I'm not really sure. But I do know that, like, when kids are taken away from their parents, depending on the situation or the severity of the situation.
They hadn't nailed them yet, so I'm thinking because they really didn't have a lot of, like, info already, it was mandatory for them to
they had no other choice. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself because it makes me feel better.
For sure. For sure. Ohio in the 90s. If we got a police officer out there, come on. Let us know what's happening. So the parents obviously are dismissing all claims of abuse.
Of course.
Even though the daughters, Pixie, Michelle, and Sherry, are stating clearly that Eddie had molested and raped them for years.
Pixie's even saying that.
Oh, yeah. She's like, yeah, we did it.
So, like, has she kind of come out of her fog of, like...
No. Pixie is still like, things are right. This is how things are.
Oh, I fucked him, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That poor child.
Everything's so confusing because at any point you're like, are they with their parents or against them? And you don't even want to put them in that position because, like, it's your parent and you're
Right.
an abuser. It's just like a weird thing. And I hate that they had to like pick sides and like deal with all this shit, because you should be worrying
Yeah.
about like college and a car and your high school sweetheart and
Yes.
other things like that. Having a childhood and teenagehood, whatever.
Yes. Not this fuckery.
For sure. Yeah. Let's go back to the Sexton home.
Okay.
So we got one kid left there. His name is Willie. Willie is 22.
Wow.
Willie is also said to have probably had some type of mental disability, very easily influenced, very easily controlled.
You said Willie's the last one left at the home?
He's the only one left at home because Joel and Pixie moved away with their 3 children now.
Okay.
Sherry moved away with her son. And Michelle, like I said, she was moved away.
She was moved away. And
like they're older, like Eddie Lee Jr. and Patrick, they had moved on like years before because they've got 12 kids. There's a lot of like age gaps happening. So they've been gone out of the house. So, a lot of them are married and moved out. So September of 1992.
Okay.
Estella. Why do I love her name?
I know. I love that you said it like that.
Estella went to the courthouse and they were like, hey, we'll give you your kids back, but you have to make Eddie move out. Because she was trying to make a case like, I'm not an abusive person. I need my children. You can't have them.
I didn't do it.
So she's like, he's moved out. He said that he won't come back. And they're like, great, we're putting a court order in place so that he can't come back. And we'll give you some of your kids back. So the court granted back Kimberly and Christopher, which are the 2 youngest at this time. These 2 kids also had never talked to DFS. So like they were silent the whole time. They never cracked. They're the tiniest ones. They're the most easily manipulated,
Oh, that's so sad. And also the court order, like that's just a piece of paper, just like a restraining order.
Say more.
Like, it's not a gated off.
Trust me, it doesn't do jack shit.
Community or home. Yeah.
So since they never talked to social services, nothing was corroborated with their abuse. So they kind of had to give them back,
Yeah.
They also released Charlie to them, which was their 18-year-old son. He was actually put like in a foster home and he ran from the foster home. Like every time they tried to put him back, he would just run. And they were like, we're pretty sure he's going back to his parents. Yeah. So we're just going to release him back to you guys. Because the parents wouldn't say we know where he is. And they were like, we're pretty sure you guys know where he is and he's coming to you. So we're going to release him back to you if you'll get him back. So they're like, yeah, we got him.
But he's also 18. So like, why?
He's 18. So like, I don't know if he's like freshly 18 or like maybe 17 about to turn 18.
Kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
But yeah, the court suspected that the parents knew what was happening. So they were like, here you go. Take him back.
Yeah.
He keeps running away. You can have him.
Yeah.
So Charlie says that every single night, Eddie is there. Every night. So Estella lied to the court.
Not shocked.
You were right. Just a piece of paper doesn't mean shit. So the whole moving away, not having contact with the kids is non-existent.
Yeah.
And Eddie is like pissed as fuck about the court trying to put something in place, keeping him away from his kids. He's over it. He didn't care about the order. He didn't care about anything.
Of course.
He was in his home. He wanted all his kids there. He wanted control back. He began training his kids.
Oh, God.
You know how he didn't pass through basic training? Well, he took, I guess, the first 2 weeks of it when they're like, do a bunch of push-ups. This is how you load a gun. Like, he took all that and was like, oh, I'm an ROTC. I know what to do. I know things. Yeah. So, Eddie, you're so stupid. But with like this and like, I'm assuming that he probably knows how to fight because like men just kind of learn how to fight with each other. He knows how to throw a punch. Okay. So
he's been punching his kids for years.
True. But he's like teaching them how to break it. What is this? A trachea?
Yeah. Your windpipe.
Yeah. He's teaching them how to like break a trachea and like some more like heavy level type of violence.
Yeah. Like take you out type.
Yeah. Like hit him in one go and have him down, either unconscious or dead. So he starts training them with guns and hand-to-hand combat in order to kill people. Because he's like, the government's taking you away from me. They don't like that I am God and that I am...
Yeah, that's their problem. That's their issue with you there, Eddie.
They think that I'm abusing you and it's not real and you're my wives and you belong with me and like, you're my kids.
Stop saying that.
It's so gross, isn't it? It's
when he calls them his wives, I'm like, shut up. Shut your damn mouth.
Well, it gets worse.
God, it always gets worse.
This is where we're kind of at the climax now, okay? We're kind of like at that point where it gets the worst of the worst, okay? We're getting to the killy part. The not so nice killy part. So, November 21st of 1992. This is all the same fucking year. Like, so much has happened in just this short 10-month span. So much. So, November 21st, Charles says that his dad comes over and he's just like pissed for no reason.
Yeah, sounds right.
Like normal.
Right.
And he tells the kids, he's like, get your guns, get ready to fight. You see anybody come on this property, then you better shoot to kill kind of thing. And if you don't kill them, I'll kill you kind of thing. So.
Scary.
He has them barricade the house. Like every window and door is barricaded. Like he had them nailing like wood slats over.
They were preparing for the zombie apocalypse.
Exactly. It's not like just pushing furniture up, which I'm sure they probably did, but like they seriously were nailing boards up and they were like readying themselves around the house like snipers to kill people.
What a family day.
You're wondering what they're preparing for, right? Because like something obviously was like starting in the works before this. Eddie fucking called the police department, cursing them out, saying, I'm not leaving. This is my land. This is my house. This is my family. I'm in charge here. We're going to have a fucking standoff.
This little bitch told on himself?
Pretty much. He asked for the fight. He wanted people to die.
Oh, at this point, did the cops even know that he was over there visiting every night?
I don't think that they knew because like they hadn't tried to like remove him because none of the kids are talking again because they're under his control. Estella May's not reporting it. You know, it's just
right. He just
super dumb.
He wanted a fight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So police immediately evacuate their street. Everybody that lives on that street is out, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, Eddie tells them, anybody that comes near this house, you shoot him in the head. I don't care. Kill him. Shoot to kill. So the standoff lasted for 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah. A deputy calls Eddie and actually talks him down.
Oh. Was not expecting that.
If you can believe that there wasn't bloodshed. There wasn't. Not on this day.
Not one?
No.
Two full days, not one person died.
No.
Wow. Okay.
I think they knew how serious the threat was, you know, and they knew like pretty quickly on that like, oh, the kids have been brainwashed again and they have like automatic rifles.
Yeah.
So they were pretty tiptoey with this whole thing. So lasted for 2 days. A deputy calls Eddie, talks him down, you know, and he surrenders. He also bonds out. I don't know how. I don't know what his bond was set at, but apparently he could chuck the change.
Why did he even have a bond?
That's what I'm thinking. You like tried to kill police officers.
There were so many laws. There were so many laws broken. He
say more.
Vocally said he wanted to kill multiple people and would kill multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the fuck was he allowed to have a bond?
Good question.
It was the 90s.
We're not at the killy part yet. We're getting there. So he bonds out. He goes back to the house. He's still paranoid about the government.
Of course.
I don't know what it is about like these culty leaders or whatever that are like, the government's out to get me. The government doesn't fucking care unless you hurt people. Like,
the funny thing is like literally that's all my case is next week.
Okay,
Literally.
nice. So he's still upset with police. He loads the family and all of their weapons into a trailer, like a travel trailer.
Okay. What could go wrong?
And he takes them. So they're in Ohio. Remember this. They're in Ohio.
Okay.
He takes them to Florida.
Whoa. Okay. That's a trek.
Yeah. It's called Hillsborough River State Park is where they end up.
Okay.
And so they're down there kind of like camping out, staying low, trying to like all stay together still.
With a bunch of weapons.
And they think they can escape it being across state lines, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not such luck. So
Yeah.
when I say that they've gathered the family, I mean even like his wives, like Michelle, Pixie, Sherry.
Nuh-uh.
And their
He wouldn't
kids.
picked all of them up too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
They're, if they were married, took their spouse too. So Joel is there.
No.
In the midst of them, like, kind of setting up and having this, like, chaotic, like, what are we going to do next plan? Pixie's youngest child, the third child, his name is Skipper. Skipper was a baby, and he was just crying because babies cry, He's probably hungry or something.
That's what they do.
Eddie was angry, like, he's on this rampage about what they're going to do next. He's getting pissed off, and he's, like, telling Pixie, shut the child up. I can't handle this right now. So she places a hand over his mouth, and Pixie accidentally kills Skipper.
Oh.
You have to know that a baby's sinuses are quite small. So the amount of oxygen that they could get is probably very limited.
Yeah.
If not able to breathe through their mouth.
Yeah.
So she realizes she didn't mean to do this, but she realizes what's happened. She's screaming. She's just like inconsolable. She's killed her child, And so her brothers put Skipper's body in a duffel bag with his pacifier. And Charles, in the interview, says he gets extremely emotional talking about how him and Willie were forced to bury the duffel bag.
Oh my God.
And like he's shown pictures of the bag and of the clothes that Skipper was wearing. And he was like, I'll never forget those clothes. I'll never forget any of that. I'll never forget my nephew and like how horrible I still feel about the whole situation.
Shut up. Oh my gosh.
They did recover the body. Police did.
Thankfully.
So he was, properly
taken care of after that. But
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But in the meantime, what's happening is that Charles and Willie are forced to bury the baby by Eddie, of course. Now, while this is all happening, Joel is angry because he's like, that's my son. And like, we need to take his body to the police station and we need to like have a real burial. And like, this is not right.
He's a good person.
Doesn't that show? He really does. He loves that baby.
Yeah. And he wants to do the right thing. And
exactly. Joel's a good person. No doubt about that. So he's yelling at Eddie pretty much, like him and Eddie are going at it. And Eddie had actually told Joel that Skipper was not his child, that it was his child a few days like prior, which pissed him off. And he's like, no, he's mine. Like it just made him angry, but he refused to believe it. He was like, Skipper is mine. That's my boy.
Yeah. I can understand him.
For sure.
Refusing to believe it. Yeah.
And you know what? I say Skipper was Joel's. He was the only father figure. Probably the only good dad.
In any of those kids' lives. Yeah.
I don't say that any of them were... I don't consider Eddie the father to any of those kids.
No.
So...
He was the regrettable sperm donor.
For sure. So, Eddie and Joel are a screaming match kind of thing. And Eddie's like, calm the fuck down. I'll take care of this. So he's like...
Yeah.
He takes Charles aside and he's like, let's replace Skipper.
Oh.
Because that's the logical thing to do for a grieving mother. Because he's like, Pixie won't stop crying and he can't handle it. He's like, let's get her another one.
Pretty much. Where the fuck are you going to pick up another baby? Babies R Us does not sell actual babies, Eddie.
Well, Eddie was just thinking that he could steal it from his eldest son Eddie Lee Jr.
No.
So,
this man.
So he takes Willie and Charles to Eddie Jr.'s house. And Charles says he goes up to the door. His dad is like, I need you to take this gun, go up to the door. As soon as your brother answers, shoot him in the head, take the baby. Because Eddie Jr. had just had a child that was, I guess, a couple months old. So he's like, this is perfect. I'll just replace her infant with another one. So Charles said, he's walking up to the door and he's like, please don't answer. Please don't answer. Because he was like, I was going to do it. I was going to shoot him in the head because if I didn't, Dad would probably kill me.
Exactly.
So, he's fully under his control. So he knocks on the door. Thank goodness.
Oh my God.
Eddie Jr. does not answer the door. So none of that happened. They left. A baby is not stolen and his eldest still alive.
I
took you on a roller coaster.
Eddie, that was a roller coaster. My body is like, oh, I don't like that.
I know.
I want Eddie to fall dick first into a field of cactuses because
that's good.
Yeah, right. I just dick first, boner and all.
What dick? He's not a man.
No,
yeah.
You have the thought, I'm just going to kill my own child and steal their baby.
Steal my grandchild to give it to my daughter, who is my wife. Is this not the weirdest fuckery in all the cosmos? What is this? So
my brain is mush at this point.
Me too. This whole thing has just been very. I feel like my brain melted out of my ears a long time ago.
And this is real life. This is a real story.
It is. These are real people. Yeah. So after he doesn't answer, they just abandon that plan for trying to replace Skipper. They go back to the campground in Florida. But Joel is just so distraught.
Right.
He lost his son. And his wife is suffering. He's trying to comfort her. It's just not happening. Everything's stupid. Everything's dumb and horrible. So Eddie takes Willie to the side. Willie, an impressionable type of person, as it has been.
Willie was the one that they thought had some kind of learning disability.
They thought both Joel and Willie
right, but I mean, out of
impaired.
Their sons, out of their children,
out of theirs,
Willie was the one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he tells Eddie, takes Willie to the side. He's like, we need to put Joel to sleep because he's very upset. So in order for this to happen, I need you to choke him until he goes limp, okay? And Willie doesn't want to do this. Willie knows that this feels wrong and is bad, and he doesn't want to do this. So
he may be mentally handicapped in some way, but he's not stupid.
But he knows right from wrong.
Right.
Yeah. He has a moral compass, unlike his father. So he's like, no, I don't want to do that. And so Eddie puts a gun to his head and says, you're going to do it.
He put a gun to his own son's head.
And what are you going to do? That's your dad.
You're going to do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your life is being threatened. Oh my God.
So Charles said that he watched as Willie, reluctantly put a rope around Joel. Joel had turned away. They were out in the wood. They walked out in the woods because he was like, let's go regroup, men, So he takes the guys out there. And then while Joel is turned away, Willie puts the rope around his neck and he chokes him to death. And Charles helped to bury Joel as well. So not only has he buried his nephew, but now his brother-in-law, who was a good person and a friend.
Yes, okay, Eddie's a little pussy-ass bitch that he's getting all of his kids to do all of his fucking dirty work every goddamn time.
Anything.
Instead of doing it him damn self. If you're God, like you say you are, then do it your damn self, motherfucker.
Strike somebody down yourself.
Right.
With your mighty God mind power, do it.
You're almighty.
Yeah. Stupid ass idiot. I hate him. So they buried Joel. But in January of 1994, Police arrested the parents on several charges to do with kidnapping, and everybody was taken in for questioning.
There we go.
And Charles was granted full immunity if he could tell them where Skipper and Joel were.
Oh.
And he did. He led them right to where they were, told them the whole story of what happened. He was very forthcoming because he didn't want any part of this. Unfortunately, Willie was sentenced to 25 years.
What the fuck?
Even though he was
Under
definitely
duress.
coerced, manipulated, controlled by someone else, and was threatened within an inch of his life, you know?
That's fucked up.
I don't know
That's
how it
fucked up.
happened. I don't know how they came to this conclusion, but he was sentenced to 25 years. Pixie was sentenced to 6 years.
Excuse me?
Kind of don't understand that either. Like, I understand she was the person that technically ended her child's life, but given the circumstance and knowing who Eddie is, I feel like they should have taken into consideration that she did not mean to kill this child. She was trying desperately to get the child to stop screaming for fear of Eddie.
Yeah.
Because Eddie could not only like for her own sake, but what if he tries to hurt Skipper? You know, she's probably thinking like, shut up so he doesn't hurt you or me, you know, like, I feel like that was probably her mindset.
I can understand 6 years taking into consideration all of that because it was still a death that you caused by your hand, whether it was accident or not. And there has to be some kind of repercussions.
For sure.
And I get that. I just don't get why Willie got 25 years and she only got 6.
More.
That's what I don't get. Willie should not have gotten, especially like he should have been given a mental evaluation, mental like cognitive ability to see where he sits and take that into consideration if that wasn't done.
Unfortunately, it's the 90s and they still are not super like up to par with mental health. So that never happened, you know?
That pisses me off that he got 25 years.
And the pictures of him in the courtroom, it's just like...
devastating.
Why? Why did you put him in this situation? I don't know. But I am glad that Charles was granted immunity.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
I think
decision.
Him and Willie should have both been afforded that same opportunity.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Estella was charged with several counts of child abuse. Child neglect, got 22 years.
Okay.
I don't know how you're feeling about her at this point.
I draw the line at him sexually assaulting my children.
Daughters.
So like I am a childhood sexual assault survivor. And so I can't, knowing what I know, knowing what I've been through, and like it is nothing compared to what these poor girls went through. Like nothing.
But still just as valid.
I can't see how you as a parent could sit there and like, there's no good excuse. I'm sorry. Like, no. Like, not even like, how are you going to, pay for this or that? I can understand that being concerned, but it's not an excuse to not get the fuck away from this person or turn them in and get help. I don't see how you sat beside that and let it happen. And she did let it happen. She is culpable. And so I am not.
I was going to say, as much as a victim, I feel like she's an enabler in a lot of ways.
Yeah, she was an adult. She was a fully formed adult. And like, yes, she was a victim in many ways. But she would have put herself
in danger by helping her kids. But like, I feel like that's worth it because it's your kids.
It's your kids. You have the cognitive ability to see the nuances of what's going on. And you have options available to you because you are an adult. The kids do not. And you didn't take those options. And so you deserve every one of those years on your sentence, in my opinion. It's just my opinion.
So Eddie, I just wanted to quote him on this because it's just...
I have no idea where this is going.
It's too good. It's too good. I pulled this from a newspaper article. But what Sexton says really bothered him about the trial was that they were talking about him. Even his own attorney called him delusional. I know how Christ felt on the cross, Sexton of 52 said in a jailhouse interview. He was condemned to death for something he'd never done.
Shut your damn mouth. He compared himself to Jesus Christ.
I'd love to see nails go through your wrist, buddy.
Right?
I'd love that.
He compared himself to Jesus on the cross.
I know. But trust me, they weren't buying it. They weren't like playing into this game of his. So 56-year-old father of 12, who authorities say controlled his children with years of incest and horrific abuse, sat passively in a wheelchair in the courtroom, nodding his head when the judge delivered the sentence. 2 months earlier, the jury had convicted him and recommended the death penalty by a vote of 8-4. And Sexton just said, that's life. That's just life.
That's just okay.
On remand? I don't know how to say that word. From the Florida Supreme Court for a new trial, Sexton was found guilty of first-degree murder. That happened in September of 1998.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So he got 2 trials? I'm assuming he got a trial.
2 different ones,
appealed,
yeah.
And then got a new trial. Okay.
Again, the jury advised the death penalty and that he was guilty.
Yeah.
So, Sexton was sentenced to death on November 18th of 1998. During an hour-long conversation after this sentencing hearing, in an interview, Sexton said that he had an IQ of 160. Firstly, he just added that in there.
No, you didn't, motherfucker.
But then he was like, I don't think I got convicted on the evidence. I got convicted on the accusations of sexual abuse and eating fetuses and so forth. So, all those occult practices.
Yeah.
There was nothing proved about eating.
Yeah.
Anything, but
I guess he assumed that people were saying he ate fetuses.
I think maybe they were just pulling out all the stops saying he did all of these satanic rituals and he ate
he did
fetuses and animals and yeah.
You know what? I believe him. He slit a cat's throat and drank their blood. There's not much more I wouldn't believe coming out of anyone's mouth about them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he was never actually killed. He died of natural causes as well as Estella while in prison, serving their sentences. Because as you know, being on death row, it's not
it takes forever.
I think Japan is the one that, in most places in Japan, if you're sentenced to death, they'll just do it immediately.
It's within days. It's boom, you're out.
Other countries, they'll just get to it. I don't know why we take so long to get there.
I think it's because, I don't know, I'm guessing, but I think it's because it's such a controversial issue for so many people here in America that
and a lot of people appeal their cases.
Exactly. We have to do the due diligence of giving people the opportunity. It's their rights to be able to appeal. And, and there are people, this is what I struggle with the death penalty is there are people that are found guilty and sentenced to death who are actually innocent. And it's proven later on. And that's the problem I have with the death penalty. And also that some people just want the death penalty for their crimes. And I'm like, no, you need to sit in jail because you're going to suffer more sitting in a jail cell.
Personally, I don't believe in the death penalty, period.
Yeah.
I do acknowledge that there are some evils that cannot be rehabilitated or restored. I just don't find that it's our place. I think it's our place to give life and not take it.
Mm-hmm. I can see that
from me. But it doesn't mean that I approve of anybody's crimes. It's just that I don't think violence on top of violence is going to make anything right. It doesn't give justice to anybody.
I don't know. I can understand choosing sentencing somebody to death
I understand it fully.
I can understand it, but I don't know that I would be able to put myself in that position, on a jury. If it was a death sentence trial, I'd be from jury selection day one, I can't be impartial.
I can't do that.
Let me.
So just don't.
If it wasn't a death sentence trial, I think I could be impartial. But I would struggle so hard knowing that your decision eventually led to the death of a person.
It's a lot.
Like government sanctioned death, but still it's a death.
In the midst of, I know I'm skimming over like the trials and stuff, but
no, you're good.
All of the children were sexually assaulted. All of them were physically beaten. All of them. So boys and girls.
Ew. Oh
So-
my God.
Just so you know that. And a lot of the kids testified. And that's how we know it's true. So, but also, let's talk about Charles for just a brief moment to give us a light at the end of the tunnel here.
Yes.
So, Charles is who I've quoted mostly throughout this whole case.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, obviously, not feeling too hot about himself, even though he was granted immunity.
Right.
He still had to live with the things that he had done.
Yeah.
Involuntarily done, but still.
You're
so
right.
he said that, he did try to kill himself with a gun, but the gun did not discharge.
Wow.
And so, he was not, he was loathing himself and his life.
How
and the
could
things.
you not? Like, I feel like that's so natural to feel guilty. And
I don't blame him for feeling that way at all. So he said when the gun didn't discharge, he knew that God had a better plan for him. And he was right, because he is now like in his 40s, 50s, and he has been married for a while. He has kids and he's doing better.
oh, that makes my heart so happy.
He's living a much better life. So even though you can tell in the interview how much he still carries with him, I feel like he was able to give himself a little bit of grace so that he can move forward and make a better life. So that is the good news. I can't find anything on the other kids, and I don't really want to.
I was about to say, that's
I don't think
good,
we
though.
need it,
Like,
No.
We can hope that they have a better life.
Their abuser is dead, and that's good enough. And we can just rest in the power and peace, knowing that Joel and Skipper did deserve better, and that in their next life, they'll get that. And they're not hurting. So
I will say on this case, like I know you see differently, but in my opinion, there's so much evidence that like if a death sentence is justified, in my opinion, like this would be the case. Like he's a vile person, and like I know this is like so inhumane, but like fuck my tax dollars going to feed you and house you, and
no.
It's
annoying for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh man.
And like Charles said in the interview, he was like, I'm mad that he got to die naturally in his sleep.
Yeah.
Apparently he died in his sleep.
No way. That's so fucked.
I know.
No cancer. No like nut cancer. I mean,
that would have been
if
good.
anyone should get it, it should be him. And they should
you're right. Yeah.
literally just decay off his body.
If only he could be so lucky. But yeah, he was pissed about that. But I mean, at least he's gone. He can't hurt them anymore. He can't control them anymore. And like that part of their life is dead now. So I hope all of them are doing well. If this podcast reaches any of them, you got to know none of that abuse was your fault. You're doing good and things are better now. You're safe.
And if you're not in therapy, therapy is your friend.
Go to therapy. Good Lord. Stay in it forever, just like me.
I know.
I love therapy.
It's so good. It's so good.
Some kind of therapy service sponsor us, but yeah.
On that note, let's do our palate cleansers, because we definitely need them after today's episode, because holy shit balls.
I know.
And I do want to say really quick, I know we'll probably eventually at some point people will say that it's insensitive that we say the palate cleansers after telling these stories. The reality is that these stories are very heavy. And I, as a trauma recovery coach, I do not leave my clients in a state of like upheaval when we do a session. If they are worked up and they are triggered, even if it's a little bit, I want to do something with them that helps them come down before I just ditch them and leave them in our sessions. And so I feel like in a way, that's what our palate cleansers are. It lets your mind kind of refocus on something else that's more positive or silly or downright just mundane to get your mind off of what we just talked about. It doesn't diminish the story that we've told. It doesn't take away from it. It's still just as important. It's not just for you guys, it's also for us too. Yeah. It's like so that we can continue to tell these stories. Yeah. This can be a lot on a researcher. So I enjoy getting to just like come back down, come back down from all this anger and all this like passion for sharing a victim story kind of thing. So, do you want to go first on yours? Sure. So my palate cleanser last night at dinner, we had one of the best conversations with my kids about God. Shut up. I'm not kidding. It was so good. And it got brought up because my middle child was like, people who believe in God celebrate Christmas. People who don't believe in God celebrate Hanukkah. And like, why don't we celebrate Hanukkah? And I was like, okay, like she's confused. Oh, okay. So I was like, we need to kind of talk about this. So I just told her what my in-laws believe. Like they are still Christian and believe in Jesus and God and everything like that. So I was like, they believe in that. Shout out to Mommy the in-laws. Mommy doesn't believe in God. But I was like, I'm more of like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know if there's a God. I don't know if there isn't. I'm kind of like, but I focus more on being a good person and being kind and being loving. And then my kids were like, but what does Daddy believe? And my husband just went like super awkward because he's like never really voiced where he's at. Oh, yeah. Because he's still on his journey. And so in Christianity, there's such black and white answers for everything. For sure. And on this journey, there's not. And so he gets like, he feels weird about being like, I don't know where I stand. And I have to reassure him that like, that's a valid answer. And that's okay to tell your kids, I don't know. And so he shared with them, I don't know where I stand. I was raised in a Christian home to believe in God, but there's some things that we have been taught or that I've learned that contradict things. And I'm just not really sure. And my kids were like, yeah, that's cool. And we got to talk about like, if other people have different faiths, what that could look like. Yeah. We talked about like, if you want to believe in something one day, go for it. But we talked about like not being like pushed into believing something out of fear. Yeah. If somebody is trying to get you to believe something and saying that like, oh, this bad thing's going to happen if you don't, then that's not a good thing to step into because you should step into your beliefs with positivity and love and, you know, a firm foundation. And we talked about acceptance and not putting other people's, you know, religious beliefs down if like you're in conversation with them. And it was a really good conversation. Like I was so happy. I love that. That's how every spiritual conversation should go when like your kids are learning about spirituality and what that can mean for them. So yeah, I love that. And naturally they want to do what mommy and daddy do, right? That's just, of course, you know, so my middle child was like, yeah, I don't believe either, just like you guys. And so my husband reiterated that like, you don't really know. And she was like, yeah, you're right. I don't know. And he's like, okay, so that's a better way to say it is like, I don't know. And maybe something will happen in the future that something changes and you do believe in something. And that's okay. We use the anecdote about, I use the anecdote. My husband's a believer in Bigfoot and I am not. Well, okay. Correction. He believes that Bigfoot could have existed. He's like an agnostic Bigfoot believer. Like it could exist, it could not exist. And so I'm like, there's no way in hell Bigfoot ever existed. So we talked about that and how we're very different. And that's okay. Like we have different opinions. And that's so what I used. I thought it was funny, but we're just like reassuring to them, like, it's okay with whatever you want to believe in the future. We wanted to give them spiritual autonomy. Yes. And I'm like, I love that we're doing that. And what a good opportunity. It makes my heart so happy. Yes. They're starting out on a healthy spiritual path of curiosity and kindness. Isn't that good? Yes. Put that on a fucking t-shirt. Yes. TM. Yes.
Okay, are you ready for mine?
All right, what's yours? I'm ready for yours. What's
Okay,
yours?
so I'm reading the series The Shadowbound Queen by Eliza Reign. I highly recommend. It is 4 books long. I'm not done with it quite yet. I probably will be by the time this episode comes out, though.
Oh, yeah.
But oh my God, it's got the good smut. It's got the good storyline. And it's got a lot of pining. So I am enjoying that very much. And I highly recommend it to any of my readers out there, smut reader or not. It's a great read. So.
If you have been following this podcast from the beginning, then you know that Lola had recommended A Court of Thorn and Roses to me. And I am reading it. It's a long book. They're like 12, 13 hour long.
They're so good. Oh my God. I need you to get to the book too.
That's the first one. And I'm on it. I only have like a couple hours left of the book.
She's got to hurry.
I already bought the second one with my new credit. I already bought the second one. So I'll jump into it. But they're so good.
I'm not going to make
love
it.
Them. Oh, they're so good.
Once you get to book 2, once you finish it, I just know we're going to be on the same page about everything in life. Like everything, spiritually, romantically, friendship, anything. Bills, taxes will be in the same.
We are going to come together.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
Anyway, read a smut book tonight.
Yes. Take your mind off of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was today's episode, and I'm going to come at you next week with a very crazy, we're going to get into some crazy governmental conspiracy shenanigans. So, and it's a pretty recent case. So
it's a very pretty recent. I love that.
Yeah, I like that. Anyways, we will see you guys next week. Have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning. Whenever you're listening to this, drink water.
Do the good things.
Yeah.
Be nice to yourself.
Yeah. Enjoy life. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Hey, heathens, if you're enjoying the show so far, we would always love for you to rate, subscribe, review, because it helps us out here in this world. And your help helps us get some more deals. I help you help me help you. Okay? This Cryocast podcast is produced by Laci Bean and Lola Robbins and audio engineered by Eric Howe. Thanks for listening.